Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys about how to perform Skullcrushers for complete tricep development and without the elbow and shoulder problems that oftentimes come with tricep isolation movements. So why should you be concerned about complete tricep development? Well, because if your goals were just aesthetic or bodybuilding, the tricep makes up 2/3 of the arm, or the upper arm at least. And it actually contributes more to your overall arm mass than your biceps do. So having well-developed triceps will make your arms look bigger, particularly from the side. Now, if you're a power lifter, it helps with your bench press lockout. If you're a strongman, it helps with your overhead press lockout. If you're a fighter, it helps you lock out on the end of a punch. So all in all, well-developed, strong triceps have a lot of uses, and no one should be neglecting them. Now, you notice in that clip I did up front, me doing a warm-up set there, that I performed the lift a little different. You saw me doing Skullcrushers behind my head rather than to my face or to my forehead like a lot of people do. And the reason for that is because the tricep serves two different purposes. The locking out the arm and locking out the elbow, or extension of the elbow, is primarily the job of the lateral head here and the medial head under here. The long head, the biggest of the three, the one back here, doesn't get fully recruited when you do that because part of its job is extension of the shoulders. And so if you're just doing a Skullcrusher like this, you're not really working it completely. But if you notice, if you come back to here, there's shoulder extension. So you're recruiting that head more. And that head tends to get neglected on your pressing movements. Most of us do a lot of pressing for our chest and shoulders, irrespective of what we train for. So that tends to develop those two heads quite well, and it still neglects the biggest of the three, the long head. And I'm not saying it doesn't get recruited on those, because it does, but it doesn't get recruited completely. And so if you want full tricep development, you need to give some extra attention to it. When you pick isolation movements for any body part, you need them to do something that your compound movements aren't doing for you. Otherwise, you would just do another compound movement. If you just wanted bigger triceps, you could just do more closed grip bench presses and dips, but you're isolating it because you want to get something else that you are lacking from the compound movements. And in this case, by doing a Skullcrusher in that manner, it allows you to still use a really heavy weight on a movement like a Skullcrusher to develop more strength, but it allows you to also recruit the long head very effectively. And therefore you're getting complete development of all three heads of the tricep with this movement. Now, if you watch me do a heavier set here, I want to note a couple of things there. First of all, you're going to notice I don't use a super narrow grip, and the reason for that is that a really narrow grip can cause too much elbow flare, and it can put too much strain on the wrist. And what you're going to find with that, this is one of the reasons you get a lot of joint problems on this. And so I take a fairly wide grip, it's about shoulder width, and I use a false grip, and the false grip tends to be easier on the wrist. It allows you to keep the wrist in a better position. It doesn't require you to put as much strain on the wrist to avoid elbow flare. And you take just a wide enough grip that you don't have to flare it much, and if you do, it doesn't put stress on the elbows. Now, what you're going to find is that if you're one of those people that Skullcrushers hurt your elbows, it's probably because you grip them real narrow and you stop at the head like this. When you start doing them with that false grip, shoulder width, and coming behind the head, 90% of the time, if Skullcrushers hurt your elbows, it's going to go away when you do this. You're not going to inflame that tendon as much. You're not going to get that tendonitis that you tend to get from some isolation movements of the tricep. And if that doesn't work as a last resort for the person who that still hurts with, go ahead and do them with dumbbells with a full pronated or hammer grip. And bring them behind the head the same way, and I promise you that will be the one movement that never hurts your elbows if doing it the other way still hurts. There's my tip to avoid hurting your elbows on them. Now, the only other safety precaution I will note, you notice I've got my feet kind of dug in, because when you start getting heavy, and in that case I had 60 kilos on the bar, and you're going behind the head, it can slide you off the bench when you start getting strong on these. So having yourself dug in a position to where you can use your feet to dig in and help keep you from sliding, or even if you need to put them under the edge of a bench to where you can get your toes under the legs of a bench, so that you can press against that to keep it from sliding over. That would be one more safety precaution I would add. But this is the way that I recommend that you do your skull crushers if you want full development of the tricep, and if you want to avoid the joint and connective tissue issues that we oftentimes get from tricep isolation movements. Alright guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot first.